Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Shifting Happens, episode 29, not 2019, episode 29. And this is our Mexico Grand Prix review. And I think we have, like my intro being very fast, Lando Norris was very dominant and fast this weekend from FP2 after he sat out FP1 to do for the rookie FP1 sessions. He picked up the pace in FP2 and set his dominant pace of purple laps ever since. And today I'm joined by AJ, our resident Ferrari fan, who will obviously talk about Charles's podium, and Double Wave Yellow, who will talk about all the things that happened with the FIA this weekend in a more informative way that you would probably have seen on Threads or Twitter this past 24 hours. So are we doing okay, lads?
Yeah. I mean, it was a great race, great week. Good times.
Mm-hmm.
I always love when I miss the race live and I have to hide from social media and all my phone updates until I get home. And I'm sitting there stuck on the second busiest highway in North America waiting to get home, just hoping that nothing pops up on my Android Auto that ruins the race for me. It's always fun.
Yeah.
I had you guys muted the whole time just because I didn't want to know.
That's fair. That's understandable. But yeah, this race, the Mexico Grand Prix in recent years hasn't been it's been usually a one stop. Yesterday we got two stops, but for the reason that we didn't think we'd get two stops. But it's more that I think this Mexico Grand Prix, it was great. I would rate it a 6 out of 10 because I just think it was yes, there was stuff missing from it, but we had chaos at the start, which we will talk about after the Lando Norris talk, and then we will talk about Max's stint on the softs to rein in Charles Leclerc at the end, and then we'll talk, and then also the surprising result of the race, and also the virtual safety car, and the discussion of some talked points about FI and marshalling and altogether F1 at the end. But I think we'll just start off with Lando Norris. Lando was dominant this weekend. I will admit I'm not the biggest Lando fan, but he stood up to the haters. It's with Norris this weekend. It was the highest margin of a race win this week for the season, 30.3 seconds, and it was already done. It was I think by what was he had an 8-second lead by lap 10 or lap 15. He was just checked out, and it was. I just think Lando was just dominant this weekend. It was considering that he hadn't won for since before summer break, was it? Or he hadn't been leading the championship since April is it's a great point marker for Norris this weekend, as he's 1 point ahead of Piastri, which we'll talk about Piastri in a bit. But AJ Marshall, do you think this championship is still not over?
Nah, not by any means. Not by any means. I mean, it's been pretty open how critical I've been. I mean, maybe not so much because I've missed a number of episodes, but in our conversations and discussions in chat, I've been very critical of both Oscar and Lando. And what I've repeatedly kept saying was I want to see a dominant drive and for them to stamp their authority in the machine that they have. And Lando has finally done that. So while I'm not, the biggest Lando fan out there, credit where credit is due. I've been calling for them to stamp their authority on the track, and that's exactly what he did. Marshall's been bloody brilliant at backing Lando all season. I don't know what it is, but it seems Marshall's been onto something for a while. Yeah.
Marshall has predicted Lando to win the championship. So it's and you got a race win prediction as well this weekend. So it's
Yeah, so I think that like right from FP1 in Australia, when it was clear that Ferrari laid an egg and that their car was not going to be a contender, I quickly changed my pick to Lando just when it was apparent. I think after testing and once you show up in Australia, it was pretty apparent that McLaren had the car this year. Um, but I felt like at a certain point in time, he was going to get to grips with this car. And I've always felt that he's had the faster pace on average. Just he made a lot of mistakes earlier in the season. Um, I think that Oscar made a big step over the winter, and it might have caught him a little bit off guard. And as we know, Lando is, prone to a little bit of overthinking or a little bit of, you know, desperation when he gets in these wheel-to-wheel situations that, the contrast to the calmness earlier in the year kind of made Norris look a little bit worse than perhaps his raw pace did. And I just figured that if you have the best car, eventually the faster driver will prevail. And it's not that I don't believe in Oscar, I just don't see his pace elevating. Even in the races that he won, it was always very close, and it would come down to like strategic elements or just, a last minute bonsai qualifying lap that put him, on the pole or something. And it was always like, you just felt like Lando was going to get it together. And, it's 1 point lead. It's not over by any stretch, but I kind of feel like the momentum has been with Lando over Oscar for quite a while now. And he's always been my pick. And I think that in the end, it'll be between him and Max by the time we get to Abu Dhabi. I had made the prediction that he would win it with a race to go. Like that was always I said that he would win it in the weekend before. I think if it was just Oscar, then he could do that. But throwing in the third person, the Max Verstappen factor is back in play here. And you can never bet against Max Verstappen. And I think that Max will successfully take it to the last race, at least mathematically. I don't think, it might not be close, but it'll at least be within the 25 points that, we have a showdown in Abu Dhabi. But, I think that Lando will take it.
Yeah, and it's like what Lando this weekend, like he had a pit stop and handling everyone for a pit stop. McLaren, yes, I think McLaren got their pit stops fine, didn't make any mistakes, just checked off into the sunset, and Lando is put himself in good spot for Brazil. Now, we're going to link in with his teammates who didn't have the greatest of weekends, of a trajectory of a weekend. You could say that it was the one that pace wasn't there, qualifies 8th but starts 7th because Carlos Sainz grid penalty from the previous race. He is stuck behind a Mercedes for a bit during the race. He manages to get past George Russell or Kimi at the time that he was just able. He just made that crucial move, like Lando made against Charles at Austin. He just made that move and he got past. Yes, fifth place is, considering where he started, is better, but for Oscar, it has to mean a great run of form. I think the stat is like he's lost. I think he's lost. The stat was going into Mexico, Max Verstappen and the two McLaren drivers had both scored, like in a certain amount of days, in 100 days, they'd score 119 points between each other. Like that is a crazy stat. But with Oscar, it's people have pointed out on social media that like if you had looked at Oscar's form from last year going into these last run of races, it's probably it wasn't. You could actually, it's not easy as hard that you could have predicted this drop off in pace, but like Oscar's come out in the press, Andrea Stella's come out in the press and said, yes, it's not a crack. The chassis is not damaged. It's just not clicking at the moment. Oscar, me personally, Oscar, I think he needs to just find. He just needs from FP1 to find a clean weekend and have a good qualifying. Maybe if he can qualify in the top three, I think that's where he just needs to be at the moment. Not for pole, just between first and third, and he's in a position to fight. But yeah, it has to like.
No, it's a conspiracy. McLaren
it's
don't want him to win, right?
Yeah, it's Mark Webber. It's they don't want it's the Mark Webber happening again. It's when Aussie was leading the championship and no longer anymore. But no,
I mean, this all just boils down to if Piastri wants to win this championship, he has to drive faster.
oh, yeah.
Like he's just not performing right now. It's
Mhm.
there's two guys in this championship, and then there's one that has one less point now. But
Yeah, yeah.
you know, it's felt like he hasn't been in it these last
Mhm.
few races. Like he's like accumulating points, but not enough to stave
Mhm.
off either of the other two. It's really
It feels like the pressure has gotten to him. That's
oh,
what it
definitely,
is.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's not just that, it's also, if you notice both last year and this year, he hasn't been able to sustain his form year round. Yet.
Yeah,
There
I
were
mean,
dips in form. And I think just to go back to what Rory was saying earlier, right? I think there's something to it. Maybe whether it's towards the tail end of the season or not, but it is a pattern where Oscar has not been able to sustain a full season at the top level,
Mhm.
if that makes sense.
I can see that. It's like I know, like
24 races is a lot, and
and yeah, 6
honestly,
sprints as well.
I think that like as I was saying, like it was inevitable that a an experienced Formula One driver like Lando gets a lot of grief, and I
Mhm.
give him grief too,
Mhm.
but a professional driver with a lot of experience is eventually going to get on top of his issues.
Mhm.
And you couldn't, if you're Oscar, you couldn't bet on that state of play remaining. And through that middle part of the season, when Oscar had the upper hand, Lando was right there. And I kept saying, like, Oscar needs a bigger gap here. Like, this
Mhm.
is not enough for me to feel confident that he's going to hold off Lando, because Lando's going to have, like, it almost felt like Lando had his low point early,
Mhm.
and just on average, like, it was going to regress back to the mean of the performances that we're used to.
Mhm.
And like Lando's not a perfect driver, but he's by no means like I would have Lando sort of in my borderline top 5 on the grid, like somewhere
Mhm.
right around, fourth to sixth in that range.
Yeah.
And that's still really excellent, right? Like
Mhm.
you're not going to sustain these valleys as long as that. He's eventually going to come up to the
Yeah.
point where he's normally at. Like he was always right there, even after Montreal, even after Zandvoort. Like it was never that much more than one race of points
Mhm.
behind through all of the stuff that happened. He was always close enough
Yeah.
that, a couple of bad races, and look at that. He's right there, and now he's ahead.
I think as well, if Baku, actually, it's a question. Do we think if Baku didn't happen, if Oscar didn't have that disaster weekend, we wouldn't be talking about a dip in form?
Oh no, it's still like I don't think that Baku made that much difference because Lando only finished 7th or 6th. Like
Mhm.
in the points gap, Lando didn't exactly gain that much ground. Like Baku
No,
was
but
almost like a get out of jail free card for him because of
no, it
how poorly
wasn't.
Lando did.
I disagree on that because for me, I think Baku was the turning point because Baku was what allowed Max back into the game. Baku was when Max capitalized on it and started chasing it down. Since then, he's just been hunting both Oscar and Lando since Baku.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I agree with that. But I just think like in the head-to-head between the two McLaren
We can't
drivers,
just
there
do
was
a hit-to-hit anymore, though. Like
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
3-horse race now. We can't just
It is
discuss
now,
a,
yeah.
a, a,
Hmm.
a hit-to-hit
Never
battle.
never count Max out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's
I think we
what
were
I've said
so
since
I think
Baku.
I think we were so used to this two-horse narrative that we were like, yeah, Max is there, but he's like 65 or whatever points behind. Like it's not gonna happen. And it's like Max is like
Sorry, you guys, not me.
okay.
I
I
will
didn't
re-emphasize that
after
you
like
guys, not me.
when Christian Horner got fired and the team's in chaos and there's like all these changes happening and the car isn't very good, like I'm not gonna say that I predicted this kind of Red Bull revival. Like
Yeah.
I was not a believer in
In the
Max's
Meckies.
like I kind of thought, well, even then I thought it would
Yeah.
just take him time.
Yeah, yeah.
Like like that they
Something
wouldn't
felt different. I think for me, what changed was one, of course, Horner got out. Blessed the
Mhm.
Lord, he was out. Get rid of him, all fine and dandy. The turning point was Mackey's coming in because it felt like the environment was better, everything was lighter. You could see Yuki starting to feel better as well, and Max automatically started to like, just the way he was speaking itself was less sort of angsty, if that makes sense.
you know what's kind of weird, and I know this is a digression, but do you guys realize that Laurent Mekies was supposed to be Charlie Whiting's successor,
Yeah.
and that
He
he
was
would
there and
he
he
was
went to
going to be
Ferrari.
the next race director? Like he was supposed to be like, Rui Marquez.
Yeah.
Like,
Because wasn't it he left to go to Ferrari at the end of 2018, and then of course that meant that Massey had to step in and
yep.
take over.
But he was Charlie's right-hand guy for a few years and was like, when Charlie retired, he was going to take over.
Yeah.
And now here he is running Red Bull all these years later.
And Fly, you hopped on. What do you think?
Yeah, no. I think for us, especially for me, I underestimated what change Horner leaving has done, right? I mean, we've all always seen and we've believed, and of course, we wouldn't think that Red Bull, it has been always catering to like Max, right? Because Max is their guy, Max is their driver, number one, no matter what happens. It's crazy though, right? Horner leaves, and all of a sudden you hear Max. Yes, he's still complaining, right? But it's not as harsh, it's not as strong, right? It just seems like it's like, Lauren gets it. Like he sits down with Max probably once a week. Like, what do you want? What do you think works? Okay, we'll do that. That's it. With Horner, it felt like every other day. It was like, well, and then of course you had the Horner drama behind the scenes. You had, is Max going to Mercedes drama as well? All those things seem to die down, and all of a sudden it's like, hello, there's a 4-time champion over here, for like a reason. And then of course you add that to what unfortunate with Oscar Piastri, what he's done. I will not to say that I was wrong, but I've kept saying this. I was going for Oscar and thought he was still winning because of him doing one thing, guys. His qualifying had improved in such a massive leverage, and that's what was getting him into these good racing position starts.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden you're starting outside the top 5, cars having issues during qualifying, and yet if we look at even more further, he in most of these races that he won, he didn't get the car to where he wanted till Q3. Q3, like that's like those are things that I guess we also, some of us especially, we don't seem to look at, and you know what, after a while, not that it's luck, but that type of consistency is needed throughout the entire weekend.
Dude, Fly.
And I have to give it to Lando. After what happened to him in Zandvoort, I have to give it to him, man. The man has literally said, I have to reach a different level. Yeah. I can't just stay, into the 0.5, 0.0. I got to get to 10.0, right?
So Fly,
you got to give him credit. Yeah.
You're a hockey guy. You obviously you're Panthers guy and you watch a lot of hockey. There's a lot of statistical analysis that goes into a bunch of different sports, and they talk about the replicability of 1-goal wins and overtime wins. And so often the team that wins in the playoffs is the one that scores the most overtime goals. The ones that have the best regular season are the ones that score the most 1-goal wins. And what they've shown in their statistics is like that this is, almost not replicable. That if you won, 11 games above the average number of 1-goal games, because if you're like a 500 team, you'd expect to have a lot of 1-goal games, and half of them would go your way and half of them wouldn't. If you're like plus 11 in 1-goal games, you can almost bet on a regression the next year. Unless you're the Florida Panthers, of course. But there's
because that comes with good coaching, but that also comes with what you said, experience. And Lando has that experience.
Well, I'm just looking at like Lando, like he consistently does well in each qualifying and then kind of blows it a little bit in Q3, where Oscar blows it in Q1 and Q2, just scrapes in and then puts that
magical
amazing
Q3. Yeah.
Right. But that's like your 1-goal wins. That's like your overtime wins. If you're consistently relying on striking gold in the third period, you're going to be disappointed.
You're not going to win a lot of games.
Yeah, because you've got to play the full 60 minutes, right? And I feel like just watching this season go through, I'm like, yeah, Oscar's impressive, but I don't feel like this is sustainable. And you're looking at Lando and you're like, yeah, he screwed up Q3, but he was metronomic through practice, Q1, Q2, and he just screwed up Q3. So if you're looking at this in sort of a rule of averages here, I can see Lando bringing his performance up or consistently delivering in Q3, and I can see, Oscar's luck running out and that magic not converting in Q3. I've seen this all year that I can't really articulate why, but I've just never felt convinced that Oscar had Lando covered.
Yeah. It just also feels like Oscar was that team that went on to that 20-5 start, right? And as the season progresses, that there's another team that has the talent, has the coaching. They just haven't put it yet together. And as it gets to crunch time towards the playoffs, right around March, that's when that 20-5 team all of a sudden goes on that 10-game losing streak. And the one team that's finally getting it together, scoring consistently, getting solid goaltending, all of a sudden approaches. So,
those darn LA Kings, man. Those darn LA Kings.
Those LA Kings were pretty damn good. But let's not skip the conversation, though.
Yeah. I think we do we want to talk about Turn 1 and then talk about Max Verstappen? Or do we want to go to Max Verstappen as you see we were talking about him?
Who's still picking him? Do you still think he's going to win the championship, AJ?
Yeah, I do think that the pendulum is in Lando's favor right now, but I'm going to stick to my guns and not write Max out. I still think he's got this, because that drive towards the end of the race on those softs chasing Charles, what the damn hell?
Yeah,
I'm not counting him out, man. I just can't. I know I've been harsh on Max in the past, but this season, if anything, the way he's driven, even before the car started showing up again, it's just, man, this guy is. I can't count him out. I just can't. As long as there's a chance, I can't count him out.
36 points. 36 points, 4 races to go.
No,
so can he gain the 9 points a weekend that he needs to?
So I'm not ruling out another internal McLaren debacle. I'm not ruling that out. I still think they have one more in them between Oscar and Lando. And I think because of that one more debacle between the two of them, that's where Max clinches it.
I was speaking of yours. That's the interesting, AJ. Max Verstappen from lap 39 to lap 69, the consistent 121 lap times. He onto lap
That's
69, we're
bullshit.
one.
That is bullshit.
Well, wasn't it?
Do you want to see the F1 TV F1 graphic?
Wasn't it Mexico a few years ago that he did the same thing too? Like he's
bonkers, man. Like, I am very willing to put my hands back up now. I've been harsh and I've been saying like I want to see Max with his back against the wall. I've repeatedly said this about Max. I'm like, I know there's a good driver there. I know he's bloody brilliant and one of the best. But I really want to see how he does with his back against the wall. And this season, his back was against the wall. And this dude is still on a charge for the title. It's mad.
I think this, even if Max doesn't get this championship over the line, I think it will. There was a debate that there is no debate that he's the best driver on the grid at the moment. The sense of overall consistency, like overall, yes, he still has the rage in him like that, but besides that, he is one of the best drivers in the world at the moment. It is like you see what he can do when he gets into a GT3 car. He can go match on the pace. Like he is just a freak of nature, and this is the problem with Red Bull. Is like they're just hoping that Max doesn't leave anytime soon, because if he goes, it's going to be a bad time for Red Bull.
So the only thing I'll say real quickly, because I have to go real quick.
Yeah,
Roy, those examples or those spot on facts about Max. Look what he did yesterday in turn 1. Look what his team did. I forget what race it was, where they went to opposite strategy and they nailed it. Right? It's like this man on race day, it's just unreal.
Like how he didn't put himself in the wall was
dude, and yet we've seen him spin in 360 and most cars hit the wall. And yet his craft is so just, oh man. And then it's like you look at your favorite driver that's not Max, you go, damn bro, you just had 5% of Max in you, dude. It's unreal. It's unbelievable.
I also think, and this is crazy, but I think that he also knows how to have contact without damaging his own car. We've seen this before.
He knows how to play to get the rules in favor of him. Like he knows how to manipulate the racing rules.
But he also knows, like, if he's going to make contact, what's going to, get the other guy better than him too.
Yeah.
Like, he knows how to make contact in a way that isn't going to end his race, but might impact the other guy's race. It's even the details like that, like a lot of times drivers with the red mist don't have the ability to kind of moderate that sort of instinct, but he's just like every aspect of, even when he goes over the line, unless he gets a penalty, like Spain was a bad one.
Yeah.
But he's still, like, he ran into George and he got a penalty for that, but he didn't damage his own car by running into George. He just fell afoul of the penalty book, right?
Yeah. And I think when we're talking about Max, should we just get into the turn 1, the turn 1 of chaos, because for 10 laps there was so much chaos going on that like the TV direction could not keep up.
The grass in the in turn 1, actually in turn 3-4 as well, like it's too fast. They need to do something to slow it down, because I think
need to wet the grass.
It's faster than the racing line to just cut through the grass. They don't slow down at all.
It's so we had 4 wide going into turn 1, which if this was NASCAR it'd be 5 wide, but it's not NASCAR. But it was just Max started on the mediums. He was only one on top 5 that started on mediums, and he had a decent launch. He got past George anyway, and he was alongside the Ferraris, and he basically was Lando, Lewis, Charles, and Max 4 wide, and Max had to take evasive action because of if he was basically getting forced off by Ferraris, and Charles went off with him as well. And of course, they followed the procedure of going around the bollard to make sure that you follow the race director's instructions. Max ceded his position back to Lewis because he knew in his head where he was in the train of cars, and he was already ahead of George, so he didn't need to give position back to George, he felt. And then, but the main talking point about this turn one is that Charles Leclerc didn't have to give any positions back because he just checked off and no one cared.
I'm still not sure how he got away with that, but
yeah, I don't know. Like, it was like no one. It wasn't picked up on the broadcast. It was only picked up after the race, of course. But like, it's he should have at least given the position back to Lewis. I don't think about Max anyway, but Lewis, he should definitely get the position back.
George is still crying on social media after the race.
Yeah, he was just.
When is George not crying?
But yeah, so looking at the document, boss, that we have.
Hey, relax, all right? Relax. All right? My guy has passion. He has competitiveness. Okay.
Passion and desire.
All right, passion. Okay. If his teammate is blocking him for more than 7 laps and he is requesting a switch up with 5 laps to go with more pace, you guys will be agreeing to this. Nonsense. Where's Baxby? I miss Baxby.
He missed Baxby, the fellow Merc. The Merc supporter is not here at the moment, so he cannot help play at the moment. But
George Russell's my favorite villain.
yeah,
Like I like him because I hate him. It's one of those.
He saw the power of the president of the GTVA or the director, wherever it is, when Seb left and said, "I want this. I can have all the power I want." And it's just like he just gives off that vibe that he's like, he wants the power, but he's also a snitch as well. He'll just snitch on anyone. He's like a teacher's pet, really. He's
like if Nigel Mansell had a brain.
Man, that is brutal. That is bloody brutal, Marshall. What the hell?
Oh God. But no, George, we'll talk a little bit about George. Well, we can actually just talk about George now, but George was complaining because a lot of people were doing lawnmower racing today, going off into the grass. Carlos Sainz just decided to turn and hit Liam Lawson, which we will talk about the Liam Lawson incident at the end, near the end of the show in Marshall's corner or Marshall's post. But yeah, and then we had George just complaining for about 5 or 6 laps, just saying Max needs to get the place back, and Red Bull just ignored it, and the FI ignored it as well. And then we got to where we had the Max lunge on Lewis, which has caused mass debate online of when Max does an overtake, he just get penalized. Unfortunately, my take is that in this current rule set, if you are ahead at the apex, you're not getting investigated because according to the steward, once you're ahead of the apex, you have right to the corner, which unfortunately this is the racing rules we have to deal with in this sport at the moment. AJ?
The thing is, right, I don't understand why George was complaining about Max into turn 1. Mainly because, sorry, I'm walking as I'm doing this, but but Max was pretty far ahead of George come turn 1. George was nowhere near that 4-car stack, so that was honestly no point of contention. If anything, the Charles one could be debated a little bit, but going back and watching the replay, all 4 of them were in a line come the corner. and Max and Charles took, Max had a lockup, had to go off. Charles had to evade because had he turned right, it would have caused a collision. That's how I see it. And that's a turn 1 incident versus...
It's a turn 1 pile-up if it happens. Yeah,
exactly. So
I think Yeah, they're more lenient on turn one. It's just a
Exactly.
reality.
Yeah, it's always the case. Like, remember, I think it's always that Fernando Alonso debate that's brought up when Fernando Alonso in 2021 wasn't it in Sochi, where he just didn't even brake and he just went through turn one and just it's that like, and he didn't get penalized for it. It's turn one. They've always been lenient on turn one. It's unless there's a serious accident, like they're not going to penalize anyone. So then we had Lewis. I'm just going to summarize the Lewis penalties and what's going to happen. We had the Max dive into turn one with Lewis, which caused both to evade and Lewis to go off track. Then, so that was under investigation for one, and then we had where Verstappen had got ahead, and it looked like that he was going to concede the position back to Lewis, but by doing so, Lewis locked up, and then it went. Lewis had to evade, didn't follow the race directors. Note where you have to basically go basically on that kind of MotoGP long lap penalty style tarmac, and then it come back onto the track on the other side, but he didn't. And then he got pinged. What did he get pinged? He got pinged for left the track and gained the lasting advantage.
Yep. So what they ended up doing is they basically said that he was guilty of both infractions, but since one covers for the other, they basically let him off for not following the notes, but dinged him for the gaining an advantage.
Okay.
And like I see a ton of people complaining about it, but it's a slam dunk 10-second penalty.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like they basically said, hey, we're giving you a 10-second penalty for this. So giving you anything more for not following the escape road would be overkill. So not that he got away with one, but it's just like they weren't going to penalize him for the same action twice under two different regulations.
Yeah.
But it was a pretty obvious one because he gained 2.5 seconds by cutting the corner. So it's like, and it's the same thing that I was saying. It's like the grass is too fast there. So you fly over the grass and you don't lose any speed at all. Like, what the heck? Like, you gotta have the points of off the track are supposed to be slower than the tarmac, right?
Yeah.
Like, what is going on here? Like, I've never seen anyone burn through the grass that quickly and not lose any time. It looked almost like a video game.
Yeah, looked like someone just got the the glitch of just like not even just hovering over the grass. But
yeah.
I think while we're on the topic of kind of FI stewards, we're going to go into Marshall's corner really and just talk about the VSC and the Liam Lawson Marshall incident.
Sure. Well, first I'll just say about Lewis's penalty.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
If he had just slowed down a little bit, he would have been fine.
Oh yeah.
And what are Ferrari doing telling him that it's for something that it's not? Why don't they tell him, oh, you got the penalty for your rejoin being faster, like gaining too much lap time, which is essentially what it is, gaining too much lap time by not following the course. It had nothing to do with Verstappen. It had nothing to do with him being pushed off or not. It's just you went off the track and you gained too much time by doing that. You can still be pushed off the track, avoid, and have it be a racing incident as long as you rejoin without gaining time. But Lewis gained time. So it almost seems to me like I don't know why Ferrari can't communicate directly with their drivers to give them good information. I don't know if Ricky had misunderstood or got bad information, or if they're intentionally telling him the wrong thing to get him fired up. I don't know. But it was weird. Like, why are you telling him that the penalty is for something completely different? It's got nothing to do with Verstappen. It's just you were off track and you gained too much time by doing that. And everybody was now disingenuously on social media saying, well, why didn't Verstappen get investigated, or why was Lewis the only one to get a penalty? And with the exception of Leclerc at turn 1, where you could make the same argument, like all of the on track incidents, the racing incidents, that's not what Lewis was penalized for. It was because he went off the track and gained lap time, which is something you're just not allowed to do, and it will always result in 10-second penalties. So anyway, we had a guy at my home track, like we call our home track spaghetti track, and because it's like got like a bunch of different configurations.
Yeah.
And if you blow corner 6, you can end up at corner 11.
Yeah.
There's nothing in the way. So we had a guy on a motorbike like blow corner 6 and go to corner 11, and he set like the fastest lap of the weekend. And I'm like, yeah.
Just a caveat that he just went through half the track.
Yeah, exactly. He went from corner 6 to corner 11.
Did they allow him to keep the track record?
No, they let him. They thought it was funny because it was a guy who was not fast. Like he finished dead last, so they let him keep the fastest lap of the weekend. But it's just because it was funny. But they didn't let him have the track record. No, that would be fun.
Yeah.
But
Marshals, do you want to talk briefly on the BSC and?
Yeah, so we'll start with the Liam Lawson thing. I don't really have any defense for that. The first rule of marshalling is that you don't cross the track. I hope that they don't get in trouble for this or whatever, because mistakes happen, but that just should never happen. I don't think there's anything that I can say to, I'm usually very defensive of my marshalling brethren, and it
seems like a miscommunication probably.
But even if it was, like, I think that there is a component of miscommunication there, that they were released and then they weren't they were dispatched early. But I also think that it was like, why are you picking up? I don't know if you saw the external camera from the grandstands, but like, why are you picking up debris that's off the track? Like, it's in the grass, and then why are you running back across the track with that debris? Like, if and this is a huge if, and I'm sure that other marshals are going to say no, you never do this, but like, even if you did cross the track, you never go back across the track. You would just go across and then stay over there. If like, in motorbike racing or whatever, sometimes at our tracks, you've got no, if you got to cross the track, you just don't, you stay over there in a safe place. Like, you don't come back to where you were, because now you're stuck over there, and you stay over there and you sit in your mistake. But there had to be some other way. And like, the other thing you can do is you can like hop through the fence and then find the nearest bridge and come back around if you really have to. But I'm not saying that I have done that, but I'm not saying I haven't done it either. So you can, but it also, in Formula One, there's cameras everywhere, so it's like, you've got to be careful. You can't be doing stuff like that. Now, I know that every track has their own challenges. I've talked about, my beliefs on Formula One marshalling, and like, I think that marshalling in Formula One could be so much better if they had a system where, and I'm never going to advocate for marshals being paid, like, contrary to what people think. Like, I don't think that solves anything. But what I do think that they should do is, in countries and places that have a motorsports tradition, like, we're not talking about Silverstone here. We're not talking about, Australia. They've got their whole, local motorsport scene, and the people who are on track are mostly all the ones that are qualified to be there, and who come every year and whatever. And some of the tracks, it's hard to get in. Like, Silverstone is really hard to marshal if you're not from England, because they have enough, right? Like, it's their big thing. But temporary tracks, or tracks that don't have a lot of racing, you tend to see places like Baku or, even some of the Mid-East races, they supplement their people with like inexperienced volunteers,
Yeah.
local people. That's okay, but I really think that they should do a better job of ensuring that anyone who marshals a Formula One event has like a chain of command and answers to someone experienced, and that they have experienced people going over the wall, and like the flaggers are being supervised by experienced marshals and whatever. And I think that somebody really good to follow on Twitter and Threads is Motorsport Marshal. She's a Dutch marshal, and she goes around the world to lots of different events, and like she shows the good, the mostly good, and the not so good. It's not
Yeah.
all great.
Yeah.
And certain countries don't have a motorsports tradition, and like Mexico does, but I also think that it's a temporary track and they use a lot
Yeah.
of local people that maybe don't have the same background or experience. So what I think, and this is just me as an individual, I think that they should do more. The FIA and Formula One should do more to give opportunities to qualified people above whoever just wants to sign up, whether that's paying your travel expenses or having like an allowance or accommodation set up. Like I know that she went to Baku, and I think that they paid for their hotel. I'm not sure, but like something like that, where if they need
Yeah.
marshals to supplement the local people that are experienced, that they at least fly them in and give them a place to stay, not
Yeah.
asking to be paid, just like
With,
have a meritocracy that allows, because right now really the only ones of us that are able to do Formula One are the ones that can afford a Montreal hotel room, and or are lucky enough to have a friend in Montreal,
yeah.
um or and that have the ability to get the time off work and travel and parking and meals and all those expenses. It would be nice if they had some sort of reward to some of our more senior marshals who go to all of our regional events and are then chosen to go and work the race in Montreal and have some of their things taken care of. Like, I don't think that would be crazy. Um, but I mean, the thing is right now they're not hurting for numbers because they get enough people to sign up that will pay their own way, that they don't need to do something like this. But I just feel like that's the piece that's missing. And that's why sometimes it looks like, you know, bad on TV, because you need so many more marshals to run a Formula One event than you need for any other type of racing,
Yeah.
that you end up, just taking not anyone, but you take a lot more people than what you would for, the level of experience where it should be the pinnacle, right? Like it should be the best, most qualified folks. Sometimes it's not. And I mean, I don't want to say that this is like everywhere. It's not. Like most places, like Montreal, it's you got to be qualified, and there's a set standard, and you got to be recommended, and somebody has to vouch for
It's
you.
either like there's a certain amount of years you have to do before
Yeah, yeah, and I mean
like
it's
20 like 20, yeah.
it's informal and it depends on the track, but there's no standard across the globe, I guess is what I'm saying.
And as well, would you you also, if with the FI as well, that if you're bringing market as well, that you're supplementing with training for for people as well, like that, investing in like grassroots motorsports, saying this is like training provide. I know like they're not just sending anyone out there, that they have some basic training in what they're doing. It's just that like you need, to gain experience, you still need to have like grassroots motorsport. You need to have like volunteering at your local track to being at more events and kind of just gaining that experience. So also, like I say, you probably agree that's just more investment in the local motorsport scene and like promotion.
Wasn't that what Mohammed promised?
Mhm.
Like, wasn't that his whole value proposition? I can tell you, we have not seen it in Canada, but who knows? But the thing that I think too is that like doing it this way ensures that you have a higher standard of marshalling across the globe, but it also keeps people engaged at the local level because you could make it some sort of reward, some sort of acknowledgement of your contribution, of your, if you have like the ability to send 10 people to Baku to be captains or whatever, you could have like whatever handful of them from US, Canada, UK, whatever,
Yeah.
as a reward for your years of service and dedication to motorsport or something. And in the grand scheme, it's peanuts, right? It's not like F1 can afford that and the FIA can afford that, and it would be a great motivator to new marshals to see people rewarded in a way that affords them opportunities that they wouldn't otherwise do, and if they did, they were paying their own way.
Well, guys, real quickly, now that we're on this topic, which I think is absolutely awesome, I do know a couple of my friends that volunteered for the track that's near me, which is the Miami one. They volunteered for the last 3 years, and for the last 2 years, they've been able to work along with experienced marshals, wherever they get stationed. And I remember my friend asking me, these guys, like, oh, like, is there ever like training that needs to be done with this stuff? Because here she is, 150-pound woman, and she's here with a marshal, and she has to follow his lead, and he's telling them what to do, and then et cetera, but she has no experience in this, right? And so then she's getting paid by FIA, but there's a sort of set rules, right? You can't do this, don't tell this, don't go there, you have to be here for the whole week. Every day training was literally like almost 7 to 8 hours a day leading up to practice one. But it's like, Marsh, I think you bring a great point. There should be some type of community or like a club or something where these races, if the contract leads out, 10-year contracts, 7-year contracts, why not start establishing a set of people that are willing to learn and to get better at this, and put them in these classes or some type of program, because the money is there, but I don't think they want to take the time to do it. They're just hiring these people that are just off the street.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And like, we already have those clubs. Every permanent racing facility, like in Florida, you've got Sebring. I don't know how far Sebring is from you, but there's the Central Florida Region SCCA. I've gone down there and I've done races in Florida. Like I went to Daytona. Like I have tons of friends that have worked Sebring. They have an extremely experienced, dedicated group of South Florida region SCCA marshals in your neck of the woods, and I know a lot of them work Miami. But yeah, it's exactly that. They supplement them with people off the street. And if your friend is getting paid, well, that's even more crazy to me, because I've never been paid for the 21 Formula One races I've worked. I've never seen
so
a dime.
They get it. Yeah, so they get like a specific set amount. Like, it's not too crazy.
No, I get it, but it's
not,
still like,
when I mean
it
get paid, I'm not
bugs
talking
me that I
hundreds,
have 21 years of experience and I've never seen a dime to subsidize my hobby, but that people off the street get subsidized and expenses.
Bro, it's always the ones that are willing to put in the work and the hours that don't get rewarded in this world, bro. That's the one thing that I will never understand. Well, sorry to get off topic, but I thought that this segment was really, to me, when I saw that Marshall picking up a piece of a wing and trying to cross the track, I'm like, even I know that's one thing you don't do, especially when the track hasn't been red flagged. or not,
And
or forget red flag, but even like completely
if it was
stopped. Like,
on the track surface, sure. But under green flag racing, a piece that's not even on the racing surface. Now, granted, they were going through the grass quite a lot, so maybe they did think that that was the track. But no, I don't know. I don't know what was going on there. It was very bizarre, and I'm probably going to get yelled at for this, but I'm at the point of my career of marshalling that I don't exactly, mince words anymore, and that just shouldn't happen. That's just it reflects poorly on F1 and it reflects poorly on volunteers. And this is nothing against those individuals who were probably just misunderstood or weren't clear on their I can't speak for them. Maybe they were even experienced people. I don't know. I don't know anything about it. I do work with some folks in Mexico. I'm sure I'll find out next year. But it just shouldn't happen. Like that should never happen. And I've made mistakes myself. Like when I responded to Pastor Maldonado's crash in 2013, we actually had one too many people on the track, so we got yelled at for that. Like, mistakes happen. You're only supposed to have as many people as you need. We had an extra person. They told us, "Oh, you shouldn't do that." It's like, okay, yeah, we all make mistakes. Nothing's ever perfect. There's always room to improve and learn. And let's hope that the organizers in Mexico and the marshalling clubs there and whoever's organizing it sees what happened and fixes the problem and make sure that never happens again.
Yeah. And I think we'll briefly just touch on the VSC. Like,
Yeah, so
it was.
I actually have changed my view on that. When I was watching the race, I was yelling like, "What the heck are we going VSC for? This is stupid." But I've actually seen it from other angles, and like 70% of the car was still exposed.
Yeah.
So if we're going on the standard of erring on the side of safety, and like not encouraging a double standard, because I remember when Magnussen pulled off with a dead car in the sprint at Brazil last year, everybody was freaking out because it looked like, he was on the track side of the wall. Not to mention, like, it was kind of like a dog leg elbow in the
Yeah.
wall. So even though he was on the track side, he was behind positive protection. If you
Yeah.
actually look at how that corner's articulated,
Yeah.
and everybody was freaking out. Everybody on social media was going absolutely, crazy that they didn't go VSC immediately, and that Kevin was in the car and getting out of the car, and they were like going by at racing speed. Everyone was freaking out. And now all of a sudden we have the exact same situation with Carlos Sainz in a smoldering car, that if you watch his onboard too, like he's trying to drive it into the
Yeah.
thing and it seizes. Like he doesn't
Yeah.
actually hit the wall again. Like he's turning like this and the car's going like that way. He's turning it like this and it's going that way. And he's trying to get it and it just stalls out and you can tell that it's like it's not moving anymore. So clearly there was something broken, that it was going to be a hard car to move. So they weren't able to push it. And you can see, like, I watched like Carlos's onboard and it cuts out like once he shuts it off, but you can see like that car is not moving. Like even if you have to just move it half a car length, you still have to send people out around to the back, and you'll probably have to like kind of like lift and do this crawl thing to get it into the space. And they probably just were trying to figure out a game plan while the thing was smoldering, and they're like, what part of it is hot so that we don't touch that? And it takes you a minute to figure out how you're going to approach a safety response on a car, and then you have it broken and smoking on top of it. Like honestly, I don't have a problem with that
Yeah.
being a virtual safety car.
I've changed my opinion like you, Marshall. I was like, why is this a VSC? And then I've seen the off-board shots and the more context to it. And I said, yeah, like if we didn't do a VSC, there would be people complaining that that was a dangerous. If Marshall's on track, like
Yeah.
like there'd be hypocrite. Like there's people complaining about the VSC, and there's also people going to be complaining that why wasn't there a VSC?
So then, but then, guys, aren't they able to show that on the broadcast? Because the way that Crofty made it sound, which I understand, right? We're now all of a sudden seeing this Max Verstappen character catch up right behind Charles Leclerc. We're seeing Oscar Piastri catching up to, Ollie Behrman. We got so many stuff happening, and then him and his partner, which I don't like to say his name. He's kind of annoying to me personally. They're both, well, why do this now? But wait a minute, but why couldn't you do this before? Man, it just seems like they
Yeah,
could have
well,
said that in the broadcast with all these cameras that they have in front of them. Double, like they could have said something, and yet they made it
you
seem
are
like
you are asking the age-old question of why does David Croft not have a brain, and that's one that I can't answer.
Because Marsh, I would think though, right? He's sitting in this room with AC. It's not in 90-degree heat. It's
he
like
doesn't
there's
know anything.
Screens in front of him. He knows the car that got hit.
He doesn't.
Right?
He
can
doesn't
see.
He doesn't think like that. He doesn't. He thinks in terms of a commentator, where he's trying to comment on something that is exciting and about to happen. And they've been building up this excitement for the last 20 laps as Max has been chewing down the gap to Leclerc, and you're finally going to get this payoff, and now it's being taken away for what on its surface, without looking into it any more deeply, looks like a little bit, unnecessary. And he's just going to react with the first thing that falls into his head, because the enemy of the commentator is dead air, right? So they're just going to they're just gonna say what they think. They're just gonna
to fill it, yeah.
Okay, to fill the time and to make it like. And I bet 20 minutes after the race or half hour after the race, someone went up to Crofty and explained the whole thing to him, and either he doesn't care or he's gonna come on the next time and say something different. Who knows? Maybe he will, maybe he won't. But again, he's not. The unique way that Formula One is structured is unlike most racing series that to some extent police themselves. So the officials and the announcers and the commercial interests are all kind of intertwined. Like in IndyCar, Penske owns the whole show. In like motorcycle racing, Dorna runs the whole show, right? So Dorna controls who the race director is. Dorna controls how the events are organized. They have much more direct control, which means that the commentators check is coming from the same place as the race officials, so they're not going to talk crap about them. Same as any sport where you're the rights holder. So in the NHL, we know that any broadcaster that's a rights holder is not going to criticize the officials because they're getting paid by the NHL. So it's going to be this agreement. Formula One is one of the very few sports where the regulating body is not controlled directly by the sport itself. They outsource it to another entity that they can punch constantly and just beat them over the head. And it's like, okay, this is different. This is weird, but this has always been this way, that if something happens that FOM or Liberty don't like, they can just run the bus over the FIA and all of the, Mohammed and everybody, like right down to the race director, because they're all hired through the FIA. Now, FOM is the rights holder and nothing really happens without their blessing. So like this idea that they're separate is not as true as it would seem, because it's their show, it's their circus. If F1 or if Liberty was to say, we don't like Rui Marquez, you got to get rid of him, he'd be gone, like no doubt. Like they wouldn't have a leg to stand on. But that's not the impression that they give. The impression they give is, well, Rui Marquez works for the FIA, so if we don't agree with them, it's their problem. Secretly, they're going, like, that was good. We can do this exactly how we want to, and we can blame somebody else. And that's the way that it's been since, like, geez, Max Mosley's day or Jean-Marie Balestre's day. Is like, Bernie did a good job of decoupling those roles, but keeping the FIA as like this standalone entity that gets to take all of the crap of like that F1 doesn't want to deal with. It also makes them intensely more profitable too, because a lot of the reason that IndyCar struggles to make money is because they have to buy all that infrastructure for the for the lights and the start and the timing and scoring and all that stuff, where Formula One just writes a bunch of zeros on a check to the FIA, and they
Marshall, you're mute.
Yeah, sorry, I hit my space bar by mistake in my ramble. But like the FIA is the best thing that ever happened to Formula One, because they have like this degree of plausible deniability where they can say we don't have anything to do with this, and the broadcasters take advantage of that. So a lot of the reason why Crofty will do this stuff is to deflect, or to like, because they can, because it's not it's not Formula One that you're crap talking when you disagree with the race director's decision. It's the FIA, and they're who we blame for everything. So bonus, right?
Yeah.
It's weird. It's unique in sports. I can't really think of another sport where the regulatory body that controls the discipline and the like the sporting aspect is completely separate from the commercial aspect. It's really different.
And yeah, I think for as long as we talked about Martin, we're going to have to do a shorter version on Ollie Behrman, because even though Ollie Behrman he could have had a podium, but I think Haas played the best strategy they could have for this weekend and maximized the best. Ollie Behrman gets Haas's best fourth place since Roman Grosjean in 2018, which is mad to think of Haas. But Haas have been in the turmoil for a while. But Ollie just showed, I think, why when he was chucked into a Ferrari, that he has a raw pace. And I think this is probably the best weekend overall Haas has had operationally. It just showed that the strategy is on point. Someone did a stat. This is like the first time in Haas's history since like maybe 2018 that they've had a pit stop faster, like under 2.5 seconds. They had a 2.2 pit stop, which is obscene for Haas. They also got Ocon in the points as well, which will help them in the constructors. Like, it's where they are. It's like the race said, like it's 50 to 60 million in difference of what is like. It's life, like it will benefit Haas. And yeah, I just think Behrman maximized it. Like his interview afterwards when he was talking about Max, like fighting with Max, he said, yeah, everyone says like when you go up against Max, you're going to be like scared about it, or you're just going to let Max pass. I said, no, I'm going to stand my ground. And he said, like, I'm going to be David versus Goliath, like in the situation. And he was pretty quick. He was eating into Charles Leclerc during Charles Leclerc's lap times during the race, and like the Haas looked decent, but like I know like people are saying like he maybe should have pitted, maybe, but like I think even if he didn't pit, he was going to get eaten up by Russell and the rest of the cars being on older tires. But he held on for P4, and it's a good result for Haas. They're still the only team on this grid that doesn't have a podium yet, which is we need that to change.
That's wild. No, it was a great race by him. I was so impressed with how he managed this, and it's like every single rookie this year has had their standout performance now. Yeah. Like every single rookie has had, like Hadjar had his podium.
Kimi had his podium as well.
Yep.
And well, that was off a sprint, I believe, right?
No,
he did. You're right. Third
Yeah.
place. Correct. You're there.
Yeah, the
Yeah, yeah,
pole
the
was
Wait, so
pole-
then,
the podium was at Canada.
then
Yeah.
March. Wait a minute, March. Are you saying that Gabriel can't have a stand-up moment in 2 weeks in Sao Paulo? You saying he can't have a stand-up moment in Sao Paulo? No, I'm kidding. It's okay.
Yeah. I think he's had his moments too. Where was it that he finished like 6th, but he was driver of the
Yeah.
day. He was right.
He definitely did have a high result. I remember that.
Yeah, he did. Also, guys, one fact though, let's not forget. I believe Ollie started last in the race and he got into the points. Like that's impressive alone.
I think it was like,
like
it was
But
around,
yeah, I people asked at the beginning of the year. I think we had the rookie of the year question in our pre-season show.
Yep, we did.
And
We did. Because we were saying outside of Kimi, obviously he has the car, he has the team. It's everybody else. It's Hadjar, it's Ollie Berman, it's Lawson. Even though we can't technically say he's a rookie, but he is technically, and Gabriel, right? So yeah, for sure.
yeah, but I mean, it's a hard choice. It really is. Like they've all shown flashes of being something special, which I don't know if we truly expected, except poor Jack Doohan.
Yeah.
Poor Jack.
Bortoleto finished 6th at Hungary.
Hungary, yeah.
There you go.
I knew he had one where he was really good.
Yeah, he scored 19 points in total so far, which is not bad for a rookie season. Like it's considering, like I know he's got against Nico Hulkenberg, but another fact, Nico Hulkenberg hasn't scored any points since his podium in Silverstone. Since like he's just gotten just DNF'd or just
He's
hasn't
like,
finished it.
I got my podium piece.
Yeah, he's like, I think everyone's just happy. Like he got a podium. He can just save the season.
He can retire now.
He's retired until next year.
Yeah.
Since we're on the topic of lower teams, should we just agree that Alpine shouldn't even participate anymore?
I think Alpine is going to be the surprise of 2026.
Why? Because with the Merc engine?
Yep. I think that if drivers were looking at it objectively, that putting a Mercedes engine into that car would be a better seat than Cadillac or Audi in their first year, and all the learnings that are going to come with it, because you're looking at like an engine formula change. The rumor has it that Mercedes has it figured out better than the others. And then you've got like the customer teams of like Cadillac is running a Ferrari customer engine, and they've never built a car before. Audi's never built a car before on their own. They have, the Stake Sauber whatever to base it off of, but it's a new rule set. First car that they're going to be designing on their own with a brand new engine that they've never built a hybrid before. Honda lost 2 years in their development cycle, waffling whether they were going to leave or stay. So they had 2 years less. RBPT has never built an engine before of their own. They've only run the Honda. Like they've never
which was basically just Honda doing everything for them, which was like basically if they need the engine fixed, it just goes back to Japan. Like they never actually opened it. Like it was
there's like so they're basically a brand new engine manufacturer. And I know that they hired a lot of people from Mercedes, but as we know, that's no guarantee of anything.
They employed like that basically took over the UK base of Honda as well.
But I mean, it's
like you're still building your first engine.
You're still building your first engine. So you've got, Honda a year and a half development behind, and then 2 manufacturers that have never built an engine. Then you've got Ferrari,
which we don't know what could go anyway. Like it's
Ferrari,
especially with more electrical power. Like, do we trust Ferrari to do a hybrid? It's like
Ferrari.
Marshall has me dying here with the hands up and the spirit fingers.
Ferrari, like who knows?
Ferrari and in a hyper. Yeah, I really don't know. Pause.
So I kind of look at it like 2014 when we had the formula change going to the turbo hybrids, and the Mercedes was so good that the Williams was the second best team. And then you had Force India get podiums. You had like McLaren get podiums. You had
in the first race, just tailed off.
Yeah.
And then
But
you had Red Bull when Mercedes couldn't do anything, when they had a bad weekend, or the Mercedes power teams had a bad weekend, Red Bull were able to win whenever their engine wasn't blowing up. Like, it was.
Yeah. And then 2015 was the worst season in the history of Formula One, in my opinion.
Renault failed to do anything with their engine. It just went backwards. Ferrari were there, but it wasn't
weren't really there. Like 2015 was just awful. And like in the first race, I think qualifying, only 15 cars were in qualifying because nobody had engines. They didn't. Yeah, it was just. It was
wasn't that the year when there was a safety car restart? The two Mercedes were 3 seconds up the straight.
Yeah,
of Bahrain.
It was just ridiculous. But in 2014, Force India got podiums quite often, and I kind of think you look to Alpine as being that sort of team, like Force India was in 2014, where some days they might be at the back and their car isn't very good, but then another weekend where the engine power is more important and they get the car sorted out and it tends to suit it, you could be on for a great result. I just think that a lot of people are going to be surprised by Alpine next year and the step that they take just by virtue of the fact that they have a Mercedes.
But it also could be the funny that even with the Mercedes power, they could be absolutely shit as well, which would be the most Alpine thing. It's they have a great engine, but everything else is gone to shit.
Garbage, yeah.
I think the constructors is basically McLaren have won, and then it's a bar fight for second, third, and fourth, because Red Bull are still in it for second, Mercedes are still there, and Ferrari, and then it's the end of the race. The end of the back is Alpine are going to be the constructor, I think, with the most points for 10th place since Haas. Oh, the dog.
And my pile of laundry.
But no, and then it's just midfield is just, again, anyone could finish anywhere, and it's going down to the last race. But yeah, I think that is the Mexican Grand Prix summed up. We'll have our predictions near to the time Brazil, where we'll get an idea what the weather is going to be like, because that will probably influence a whole lot of predictions.
Max will win. Max will win Brazil. I'm putting my whole predictions out there for the rest of the season. Max will win Brazil.
Boat races?
Oh, it's a sprint. I don't count the sprint.
Okay,
I don't watch the sprints. I don't count the sprints. I don't even care about sprints. But Max will win Brazil. Lando will win Qatar. George will win Vegas.
Because Mercedes just a goal attempts.
And Max will win again in Abu Dhabi, but it won't matter because Lando will finish on the podium and take the championship.
So Marshall, what if you have the scenario where, because Lando hasn't had good performances in Vegas. Actually, the McLaren team hasn't had any good performances in Vegas. What if, oh man, you asked earlier in the show, where is he going to get those extra 9 points from? I don't know, man. I think Vegas has to be it for him. I think Vegas is going to be that shot that he needs to
So is George going to play spoiler for
well, him and Lando are buddies, so I'm pretty sure. And there's no, by the way, I think what Oliver Behrman did in that chaotic moment, seeing Max Verstappen do what he did, and for Oliver Behrman to keep poise and patience and work his way through that, bro, if Lando would have been able to do that last year at one point, man, that would have been probably even better. But not that George might play spoiler, but again, Lando, the McLaren team hasn't had a good weekend at all in Vegas in 2 years. So, I think Max sees that as an opportunity. Well, I think now he sees it even more bigger, but I think that's where
I think George has to have a little conversation with his teammate on how to be an effective torpedo.
And torpedo Max, like he did earlier. I know you were going with that one.
Yeah, the Vegas torpedo.
Yeah, because Lando DNF'd in 23 when he went flying into a barrier. It wasn't his fault, but and then what happened in
Yeah, but we'll
2024.
blame him anyway because
I would
everyone
blame him. Yeah.
always blames Lando for everything.
But yeah, but to send off this podcast, we're not going to blame Lando. We're going to praise Lando and say that was a brilliant weekend by him.
It was.
I
So
would
who are
like
you
to-
picking?
Oh,
Are we not
well,
doing our predictions?
No. I need to see the weather. I need.
Please tune into
Boo.
Backspace video. Tune into Backspace video.
It probably will be a Dutch S1 from the Netherlands in either way, but
Nick de
chaos.
Vries is coming back.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
He's
wow.
he's been sacked by Toyota Gazoo Racing to come back to Formula One.
Yeah.
But no, I would like to thank Marshall for joining and giving his insights as Marshall does, and we had Manny Fly for his for producing in the background and bringing in his takes and defending George Russell, for AJ for his brief. We actually didn't talk about anything about Charles Leclerc in any positive light really, and he actually AJ didn't actually catch on to that. So
Rory, there's not much to talk about when the guy in front of you is almost 35 seconds ahead and the guy behind you didn't show up until 3 laps. So I don't know what else is there to talk about.
Well, he's on the podium. Like he was third in Austin, second in Mexico. Maybe he's going to win at Brazil. But no.
I mean, that would be a really Ferrari thing to do.
Got his bus.
So do we have a 2-week break now?
Yeah. It's a break. I think it's like Brazil and Las Vegas are together, aren't they? Or is it Qatar and Las Vegas? One of them are together.
So if we have a 2-week break now, what are the chances we'll be having an emergency show for Cost Cap?
Oh yes, Cost Cap will briefly say Aston have accepted the procedural breach, which is basically not submitting documents on time. Basically, they told the FI in that they were not going to be able to submit, so they've accepted but there is apparently 1 to 2 other teams. We don't know the teams, there's speculation, but because of legal reasons, I do not want to talk about it at the moment.
You know what I think, like, really funny? It's like, I have no evidence of this or no idea who it is, but it would be so funny if it was McLaren and they got stripped of their championship last year,
and Ferrari gets the constructors,
and Ferrari gets to win a constructors championship in 2025, except in 2024 championship.
In the most Ferrari way possible, it would be.
But I don't actually think it'll be McLaren.
Yeah.
I think that would be too much, too spicy. We never get anything that fun.
No.
But
we will probably find out. It will probably drop before Brazil, the week before Brazil, or the week of Brazil, so we can have tension in the paddock.
Everyone will get all hyped for it, and then we'll find out it's like V-carb or something.
Williams or something like that. Well, I won't be surprised with Williams, considering how much chassis they wrote off last year. But
the wreckage fund, the Argentinian
and Logan Sargent.
The Argentinian funds didn't cover the crash damage.
No. But once again, I'd like to thank everyone for listening. Please like and share. It's on our Spotify, anywhere we can get your platforms, YouTube here as well. Please like and subscribe, and thank you very much for listening.